Filmmakers, thank you for joining us. I wanted to call this Filmmakers are Change Makers and invite the selected filmmakers that were part of our program, now virtual, during the Sundance Film Festival. We call it the LFN Filmmakers House programs, the workshops and all that stuff. And we kind of wanted to see what you guys felt, what you thought, your experience, talk about that first. And then we kind of get into like talking about, our community in the entertainment industry and how we could keep elevating, each other and elevating all the, and kind of like talking about and sending messages out on how our industry could also take a better look at us and our work. So let's open it up to the floor. Tell us how your experience has been like so far.
Yeah, I'm happy to say a few words.
Okay.
That's so surprising.
I'm not the chatty type, yeah. I think it's been a really it's funny because we're here in Zoom and everything is like Zoom mode and we have to do everything virtually, which in a way is such a tough situation. But what I've come to understand in experience this year at Sundance and with LFN and Mylan, who's been putting on all these awesome events and everybody helping out, is I almost feel like we've gotten more time to connect with all of the execs and to connect with each other and to connect. I mean, it's really nice when we're in person and we can touch each other and have that experience, but things move so fast. It's like, there's like this blink of an eye kind of situation. And this feels like, wow, intangible, really kind of connecting, because all we really have is dialogue. So we don't have the experience of sitting down next to each other and holding physical space. So I feel like I've walked away with more solid connections having experienced it through Zoom, which, that speaks to the coordinating and planning on you guys' end. It's been very, very enlightening and just a great experience for us as emerging filmmakers.
I agree.
Hold your applause.
You know what? You get an applause emoji. Okay?
I know it's kind of hard because like the Zoom system, even when we like host and moderate Q&As, it's kind of weird. Like you try to be very conversational, right? But like, it could be like, oh, who's talking? Is anyone talking? Should I go next? So, but please feel free to like, dive in.
Well,
and this is the Latino Filmmakers Network. So, we can talk like actual Latinos in there. Like, you don't have to be like, pardon me.
Yeah, exactly.
Your sentence. I apologize.
And interrupt each other and say goodbye 500 times and all that good
right.
stuff.
So, you're with your people. Just let it out.
Well, I like that we're able to just, it forces us to focus, I think. I've been doing a lot of Zoom things, and there's that in-person thing that you get to have that connection, but it does focus us to listen to each other and to sort of like get our point across really quickly. And that was really helpful. And I'm someone who's super ADD. So having like some sort of focus was really helpful with this. So thank you.
And there's also a level of accessibility to this that I really appreciate, right? I was able to teach a class right in the little break that we had and then jump right back. I was still able to do the work that I had to do, and I was still able to have these really fruitful meetings. So being on Zoom, I think, is extremely helpful.
And how many of you were planning to be at Sundance? Raise your hands.
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
Yes.
Wait, do that again. That's basically everybody. I mean, I can't see Adelina and Juan, but I know Adelina was going to be there.
Yeah.
And Juan was
because because I bought all kinds of winter shit. So I'm like, it's summer down here. So I'm sitting around with like a jacket on now because I gotta wear it. I paid for it.
Wow.
Yeah, and also, we had the Palante filmmakers HBO Palante, they were gonna be the filmmakers that we were hosting in the house. So they were definitely gonna be there, Adelina, Juan, Isaac, and Maria. So yeah, it was a really, really hard transition, I think, for all of us, especially for me and Gabby that were putting this whole thing together. You know, first of all, we're a very, very small team and we volunteer our time, you know, so
while working full time.
So we could like pay our rent, you know. So you know, we're dealing with putting a program together for like the Filmmakers House, plus putting a whole entire program together on Main Street for everybody else. And you know, we were very excited to do it in person. We were going to do it at the Acura Lounge on Main Street and stuff like that. And then when everything got canceled, as you know, it got canceled not like months in advance, like a few weeks in advance. It was a matter of like having a day of like, oh, what are we going to do now? How are we going to shift? But we can't cancel this because we've worked so hard already for months, right? And we want to provide a nice experience, and not just like a regular experience, like something that's not just Zoom. That's how, you know, I started doing some research, and then we ended up figuring out to go with the spatial chat thing, and then virtual world, so it could be kind of fun and interactive. It makes you feel a little bit of that Park City vibe and Sundance vibe and stuff like that. And we added more. We decided to drive ourselves crazy by adding more panels.
We actually even added another one for tomorrow.
Yeah, Gabby did that because, you know, she wants to continue to drive me crazy. But
well, that's true.
But yeah, so you know, adding more panels and bringing more value, and of course, not quitting on the on what we wanted to do with you guys as part of the Filmmakers House program, and making sure that you still have the opportunity to connect with some of the people that we wanted you to connect with, even though it's virtually. Hopefully you all get to meet them in person or whatever, or you keep those you know, contacts and connect with them and stuff like that. It's obviously easier to get them involved because it's via Zoom, right? So pretty much what we want to know right now is, you know, what value you found in the workshops and in the speed dating.
Yeah. Like, and also I'm curious to know, because we try to include TV people, we try to include feature film people, we try to include people that, you know, come from development, we try to like independent studio, we try to mix it up as much as possible. Curious to know what you guys thought about that as well too.
And if you visited the virtual world, you know, like, let us know about that too.
I'll go. So what value we found in it, the experience is what the question was, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean, honestly, I'm such an emotional being. I feel like my big takeaway from this was just inspiration. Like I felt like it definitely helped me hone my skills and meet some people and stuff. But it went from, you know, I was buzzing after we were done with the call. I was like in the room with my partner, and I was just like, let me just tell you everything that just happened, and let me tell you about all of my ideas. You've already heard them 1,000 times, but I got a new idea, you know. And it was really inspiring. And I think that's like having moments like that is really important, I think, as a director, because we're all out here hustling. And especially I think for directors like all at our level, I feel like we're kind of all around the same time in our lives trying to make something happen. You know, I'm a commercial director for money, and it's really hard not to just like only do that, to like crack open my script, or, you know, take hustle to get the meetings, or and all of that stuff. So it's been really great, like, to practice the skills, but also just like inspire us to, or at least inspire me to get off my butt and work more than 30 minutes on my project a day. You know what I mean?
I also think visibility, you know, because sometimes you can have the greatest idea, you can have the best script, but if you don't have the connections that are so hard to get, and from working as an assistant at WME,
I know that, you know, these big agents, these big executives, they just don't read things that they have to be referred. You have to have like a support group like this one that has those connections and puts you in front of these people. So that is, I think, something extremely, extremely, extremely important and helpful. And I'm so grateful for that.
And the workshops also prepared us for the pitch, what was fantastic. You know, Dan was so wonderful about talking about story and the heart of story, thematically what you're getting across. And, you know, I incorporated that. And then the next day, my pitches went really, really well. So
good.
For that good. Part too. You know, the awesome. Preparation is as important as, you know, the meeting.
Yeah.
It was
that was the idea, to have them kind of warm you guys up, get you like amped and ready for then that pitch session, right? So we're happy to hear that. Go ahead, Christopher.
No, it just felt great to be not alone. You know what I mean? With like creative stuff, to know that there's like other people out there in a similar place trying to do these things. I feel like creatives like us probably get in our heads so much, thinking like, oh, like what I'm doing is crazy, or, you know, we have those highs and lows, and it's going to happen for the rest of our lives because this is what we want to do. But to know that there's like people around who want to sort of like have those conversations, who are willing to put the time in to create those connections, it's just fantastic.
I also hope that through like the workshops, whether it was with the producers and the executives, or Jairo, the literary manager, or Anna, the programmer, you know, you kind of get to put yourselves in their shoes and see their side of things and see, you know, because even me, you know, I've been in this industry for a very long time. Gabby has been in this industry for a very long time. And sometimes I hear them talk and you always get something, you know, like something new that it's like, oh, wow, okay, I never thought of that. Oh, okay, so this is, you know, access to the information. You know, Maria said access, but I would say access to information that we kind of like never, you don't learn in film school, right? And we're here kind of like
and
thrown
stuff
in the
changes
industry
all the time.
Yeah, stuff changes, evolves all the time. We're here all the time, like in this industry, but like we don't know, like we're making movies, but it's like, okay, after you make a movie, what's the next step? How do you get a manager? How do you get representation? You know, and representation for filmmakers is completely different from representation for actors, right? Or how does programming work in film festivals, right? In this case, the Sundance Film Festival, right? Or how do the producers and executives look at what they decide to greenlight, right? And then and the way that me and Gabby kind of, when we reached out to the executives, we were like, we told them, listen, we never get the opportunity, period, to pitch. Our community never gets the opportunity, period, to pitch. So just, you know,
well, not never, just not enough.
Not enough. Not that it's never, you know, but
right.
also
but definitely not enough.
But also it's like you really don't get the opportunity to pitch, because how many times do you get the opportunity to go into a studio and pitch to some of these executives, right? It's different to pitch to an independent producer that you want to have, you know, produce your movie. But the studio system, the pitching for the studio system is completely different. That's like on a different scale. You pretty much have to be represented by an agency, sometimes a top agency, to get into that door, right? And the pitching process is completely different, right? So you get like the opportunity, even if it's 5 minutes, to be in front of some of these people and get some feedback from them, right? But it's again, access, I guess, you know, and visibility. But I see it like, again, if you're an actor, you get to audition once in a while, right? But when you're a filmmaker, you don't get to pitch all the time, and it's a process. And the more you pitch, the better you get. That's the way that I see it, right? Just like with actors, the more you audition, that's why it's like with actors, you have to go to acting class, which is like the gym, to hone your talent. With filmmakers, I guess, you know, what we need to do is continue like practicing those pitches with one another, right? Especially those log lines. Log lines are key, because if you have 5 minutes to pitch, you only could take 2 of those 5 minutes, and you need the shortest thing possible, you know? So what did you guys feel about those conversations that you got to talk, you know, that you got to have with people like Jairo and Anna and, you know, Daniel and Jolene, you know, and the execs that you got to pitch to?
Would also love it if you guys told us things that didn't didn't really work for you or weren't.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to take it personal. We want this to get better and better. So, you know, it is, you know, it would be helpful to hear all types of feedback, basically, is what I'm going to say. But go ahead, Gianfranco, since you have your hand up. I know you're so shy.
Yeah. The first that I'll say was, I think I had and I want to say this to kind of all of us here, but the experience to pitch, you know, vocally, to say words out of my mouth and have an exec hear those things, that's really nice. But also to prep us, right, in the selection process when we're writing these things, that's also equally a huge opportunity. I mean, being selected for this is helpful in letting us know that maybe something that we started to write is working in a certain way, and now that might shape maybe an artistic statement and or, you know, a director's statement, or director's intent when you're prepping something for Sundance or any of these other fellowships, you know, or labs, and that's a huge deal. So I want to say that's been like I think it's one of those like hidden golden nuggets, is prepping that material for log lines and everything else, and knowing, okay, we're shaping this a little bit more, and maybe we take this project somewhere else for further development into, you know, a bigger lab, one that gives us more highlighted opportunity. So that's phenomenal. A thing that I would say would be really great to work on. I've done this now, like with my land. This was 5 minutes this year. That one year that we did it was like 10 minutes, right? Or
No,
like
it was supposed to be 5 minutes. Also.
Well, we did our thing that year. We stole that show.
There were so many people that one, and I was controlling like all these people that
Which one was that, my friend? Which one was that?
Oh, that was 2020. That was like the last year before you know, the shutdown.
Right.
That was in Park City. That was in person.
It was.
So what you're saying, Gianfranco, is you'd love it if it was a little bit more time.
I'd love it if it were like a traditional. I mean, I know it's a chunk of time, right? Like, I mean, it really is, and it's asking a lot from these execs. But if it were something that we could do, I know, like Nali, for example, I was selected with them this year, and it was more traditional, in which, you know, we sat down with execs and we did like a full 20-minute pitch. Now, was everybody like going 20 minutes? Probably not, but like, you know, we had that opportunity to like really establish a relationship with somebody, and this was still like a door opener, so I have no complaints. Like, this was huge. I have like some amazing emails because of the last time that we did this, when I spoke to Amanda Trocan. How do I say her last name? If you're watching, Amanda, I'm sorry. It's not like we were like figuring out the last name. Trocan. Yeah. Okay. So when we connected with Amanda Trocan, it was nice for me to be able to go like, hey, a few years ago, I chatted with your colleague, and I just dropped the name, and she was like, "Oh, you know her?" And yeah, you know, and I'm like, "Yeah, I know her. You know, I met through my land actually." So these little small opportunities, they just build, and they make it, you know, a little more known in that community.
But you know,
makes it a little easier.
What I appreciate about 5 minutes, that I think is valuable, that you guys have to see it in that way too, is that it gets you trying to say your pitch as quickly as possible, because I get people pitched to me all the time and they tell me their full story and the full film and all that stuff. There's not a sense of, there has to be better programs on pitching, you know, and there has to be a better grasp and sense. And it just gets you, because I'm telling you guys, like, I think it's really important to get in the mindset of perfecting the pitch in the set and perfecting a pitch that's short, sweet, and fast, because you never know when you meet that opportunity or you run into this producer. They're like randomly, if you could be walking on Main Street, right? They're not going to stand there to listen to you for 20 minutes unless you're engaging in some sort of conversation and they ask you and they really want to hear you, or maybe they'll set a meeting afterwards, right? But with the 5-minute pitch, it's like, it gets you guys to do it in such a quick pace that if they want to know more and they want to hear more, they'll say, here's my email, here's my number, let's have a Zoom and let's talk more. You understand? Yeah. That's the way that I see it, because I find like when it comes
That's how
to
the majority of pitches will go in your life anyway. They're going to be short and sweet like that. You're going to have more of those than you are going to have the 20, 30-minute conversations.
So it's a matter of like doing it so good that they want to hear more. You know, that's the way that I see it.
I agree with that, because coming from a nonprofit experience, usually it's just a cold calling, 20 seconds, say, hey, I'm here for this project, blah, 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 and they say yes or no. And then you have to submit them, you know, a 20 to 30 pages proposal and all of that. So it was interesting to see the more commercial side, I would say. It's now you have 5 minutes, which for me was like, that's a like now I need to expand what I have to say. So by the first one, it was like a little bit too much information. Then the second one, it was a little bit not too much. And then by the third one, I had already like the ideas ready. So it was good. It was a good trial and see the interest, see what was working, what maybe I could switch. So it was a really good effort. I wished that there was an extra meeting, I guess I would say, with another producer, because at that point I was like, oh, okay, now I have things ready, I could do that. But it didn't. What I appreciated about all of it is the whole experience didn't feel like a hollow attempt to just have us pitch and figure it out on our own. It was a whole experience of understanding what it looks like, the process, and which each producer may like or dislike. Because one producer told me one thing that I could add into my project, and that was great. And then another producer told me something completely different. So I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting, because maybe I can get my project this way, maybe I can plan my project that way. And it gave me a moment to figure out what else to add, what else not to add, and so on. So I would say also kudos to you guys for selecting these producers, because they didn't feel like probably everyone else has had a moment, an opportunity where you're talking with a producer and they feel that they're not interested. And these guys didn't feel like they even if they were bored with what we were saying, they didn't look as if they were like that. They were like very eager to give you advice, very eager to follow up with you. So it was very interesting. Of course, who doesn't want more time? Because that's always it.
I will say though, that they were a wonderful group of people. Yeah. And they were, I think, attracted to the idea of like, this is their way to, give to the community, to help, people that are generally underrepresented, blah, blah, blah. Right. They understood that it was generally like a learning experience for all of us. So there wasn't that pressure of like, these people are coming to pitch to you and what have you. So I think that helped them. Yeah. And I do think that made them more open and as you said, more personable. But we are all going to have those situations where the people are not personable, or they're just looking at you like, yeah. And I had a pitch where I was told beforehand, this gentleman looks at his iPad the entire time. Just want you to know ahead of time so you don't get offended. Because for most of us, that would be pretty rude, right? If you're pitching to me now and I'm just like this, I mean, you don't want to see my forehead or the top of my head, but oh gosh, that is my dog.
Carla, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to first thank you all for this beautiful work, because it really means a lot for me, and for Josie was very important, this experience, and having been in this festival is very important for the project too. It will open other doors eventually, like having the name of Sundance in your project. I will say that I love small pitches. I used to organize here in Puerto Rico an event of workshops with filmmakers from different parts of Latin America. We did like a big pitch at the beginning and an end pitch, and you will see how the pitch will change from the beginning to the end because of the input of the people. So I really enjoy this kind of pitching very fast. I would like to have like maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes more to have the feedback, because many times we were running out of time to hear the feedback. But I think it was perfect the way it was, in a sense, because it forced the people that were hearing us, the producers and the to be synthesize also their input to us. So I think that in a sense is beautiful. So for us, the project was, this was the first time we pitched it, so it helped us to construct the story. I also want to say that like with the chat, they are saying that it would be nice to hear the pitches of all the group, and I was like expecting that. I wanted to hear the stories of the different participants, because I think in a way, well, when we organize this project that I say that is called this lab, it's so beautiful to see how the projects of your colleagues evolve during the process. That I think you learn also about how other people have to manage telling the story in 5 minutes, because it's about synthesizing, and it's about finding the essence of your story that will touch the heart of the other person, the other side. I also wanted to add that as a filmmaker, that I did my first movie, doing my second movie, and I am a very slow writer, so right now I'm writing a novel, because I have this huge idea I cannot put in a film. So I find this script that is from my cousin, so it's very personal for both of us. So it's very magical, all this stuff, and it's very magical being here. So I wanted to thank you all, because I was, as a filmmaker, trying to do your second movie is kind of you feel that the feeling is very, very intense, in the sense that you feel you don't know how to do it. I hear the agent, I was stressed out, because I was like, here in Puerto Rico, you don't find many opportunities, and also you have to pay your bills, and I'm tired of doing this workshop thing, because I need my mind to be creative. So I right now trying to make my living on tattooing, because it's so difficult to find a way to film, and I want to have my voice and tell my story. So I think this was, like the universe saying me, continue. So I wanted to say thank you and share this with you.
All right, Miguel.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So first of all, the event was eye-opening, amazing, and a lot of things that I've already said in private, but I'll say them in public now, that it was really refreshing to see a different take on the virtual experience, and how Mylen, you and Gabby and the rest of the team really pulled together this thing pretty much at the last minute, and made it different, because it could have just been a bunch of Zoom phone calls, and instead it was an entire virtual experience, and it was just so fresh. And all that to say, well, thank you first. And the second thing is, I know that it might be a lot of work, but hopefully next year you guys have 3 times the staff working with you guys. And I would say
We will take volunteers if anyone wants to help out.
I would say to have the experience in Sundance live, and then also have a virtual version for people that can't make it to Sundance for financial reasons or scheduling reasons, and also pair them up with executives that can't make it to Sundance for scheduling reasons. So you have a live version of the event that you've already done a bunch of times, and you have this version that you did this year, and you can expand it so much more. And I'm sure that by this time next year, Latino Filmmakers is going to be 3 times bigger, so we'll have 3 times the staff.
Thank you, Miguel. Okay, Julian, you've had your hand raised.
Oh yeah. So I was just going back to that discussion about the 5-minute pitch. I just wanted to say I actually found it very helpful, and I did leave the pitch wanting more time. However, I did feel like it sort of forced the people we were pitching to ask more questions, which I've done a few pitches to some fairly big companies and producers. And, I remember, I think I talked a little bit about one of the times that I did a pitch in this. And, I pitched my first idea, thinking that was what I was there for. And he's like, oh, cool. What else do you have? And he didn't ask any questions about the project. I didn't expand. And, actually on the third pitch, he was like, oh, love that idea. Let's talk about that. But it was really interesting that because we only had 5 minutes and we boiled it down so concisely, they did ask questions on every single thing and made you think about it. So I really liked that.
We asked them to tell us what they thought too, by the way, and I do want to share some of that with you guys. So Jeff said that it was like going to a party where you don't know anybody, but then you have the best time ever. And I'm like, of course, what a wonderful description.
I felt like we were having a party in between those speed datings there.
And I was like, yeah, that's cool. I like those. I think those are the best parties. Those are the nice surprises. Daniel Ragusis loved teaching you guys the workshop, and he loved having you guys pitch, and he offered to do more. So we're trying to plot and scheme with him to see when, we can do something else. What about you, Mylen? What kind of feedback did you hear back from the actual producers or executive side?
They were just like saying how much fun that they had, and that they heard like some really good pitches, and that they hope that this continues, and that some of you guys stay in touch and all that stuff, but that it was a very nice experience for them. Which is interesting because this experience is really for you guys, but they said that for them it was a great experience.
Just out of curiosity, I'm just curious, did you guys all pitch one idea or multiple ideas, or how did it go for you guys? One idea?
One idea for me.
I like one idea per person, or just one to every person?
I thought that was the rule.
Yeah,
I mean, there's really
Was
no
there a
rules,
rule?
but we were like talking about the fact that you only have 5 minutes, so try to stick to one project. And then sometimes, as you guys know, sometimes they ask you, do you have other projects, right? Tell us about another project. So that's pretty much how it goes. Isaac, I know you just joined, so pretty much if you wanna, I don't know if you wanna say, Juan wants to say something. Let's get Juan to say something. Sorry, Juan, I don't see you. So
well, first, First, I was gonna say, Julian, how many did you pitch?
I pitched two different ideas. I pitched two different ideas, but I alternated them between like the different people based on their history. Like some guys seem like TV, so I pitched a TV idea of a project I'm working on, and some guys were feature people, so I pitched the feature. And I did like briefly in a couple of them mention a third project that is already going elsewhere, but didn't really pitch it, like kind of just like, oh yeah, I'm doing this other movie that's about a blah, 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 blah. But what I want to talk to you about is, that sort of thing.
Right. Okay. So my experience was phenomenal because I'm not going to lie. I pulled something out of my ass last minute. I had nothing for this pitch session. I was just like, I got nothing. I had a vague idea, and then I was up until the last 5 minutes, and I'm just like, this is gonna go so fucking bad. I might even call in sick. And
wow.
We will hunt you down unless we know for sure you're really, really sick, like Adelina. So that would not have flown.
Well, you stood out somehow, Juan, because we heard from executives, that guy from Chile, he was really cool and interesting.
That's good. So I went with it, and I just, it made me realize how passionate I was about this project, because I was winging it, but I came up with a whole storyline, and they pointed out how passionate I was, and I was like, wow, this is probably my next project now, because like I say, I realized how passionate I was, when I was pitching it to each one, and each one got better with the help of the last exec, with their feedback. So I loved it, I even, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I rocked that shit.
Yay. Yeah. Yay to you. Yay. Isaac, let's hear from you. What was your experience with the whole thing?
Oh, well, I mean, thank you all again for putting this together. Like, my expectations were honestly low because I haven't had great experiences with virtual events. It just can't be as great as in person. However, I would argue this was even better in person, at least like the speed dating part, because we had the comfortability of being in our homes, and like pitching isn't like the easiest thing. So we had like resources available to us to make us feel more comfortable, like our computers and whatnot. And that made me pretty confident, and or at least more confident than I would have been, like trying to memorize everything while also meeting new filmmakers in that filmmaker lodge that y'all had planned. So like this was honestly like really great for me. I kind of like Juan, I didn't pull something exactly out of my ass last minute, but I did go back to a personal project of mine that I put on the back burner and was like, let's see how this plays with these people. And it made me explore those ideas of like the true story of my father a little deeper. And that was really refreshing and rejuvenating to explore as an artist, of like, oh, this idea is good and it is powerful because it's personal and true, and it could be worth making. So yeah, that made me realize that. So that will always forever be valuable to me, of like, this reignited that story for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. And I think it also helped looking at the different producers, executives, the literary manager, how sometimes you'd hear different things, but many times you got a lot of the same from all of them, right? Like being passionate about your project when you speak about it, like focusing on something that's personal, right? Jairo said something that I really liked. I don't know if you guys remember. Miguel, do you remember what Jairo said? How he worded it? Focusing on the prime, right? The prism. I thought that was really interesting, right?
I really like that.
Yeah, but you know what, like right now, just talking to you guys, I really like that idea, because several of you brought it up about pitching to each other before having that extra step, so this year was the first time that we added those workshops to like get everyone ready for that. Now it's adding that extra step of like you guys pitching and practicing with one another, before actually doing the speed dating. But you know what, this is not the end, guys. I hope that you all stay in touch and that you practice your pitches with each other, right? Now you've been in part of this class, so like you know each other, you know what you've been through, you know what you could go through in this industry, right? So stay in touch, and if you have to practice those pitches, do it with each other and keep doing it. So, when you're there in the moment, and you never know when that moment happens, because guys, it cannot just be like an event, it could be in the bathroom. I've pitched in the bathroom. It could be in the elevator. This is why you have to keep it so quick, right? So it's like just being in a moment that it just happens so randomly that you run into someone and you have that ready, for the next few minutes, I want to focus on maybe talking about, as being Latinos, part of the Latine community, right? And we all, I think that we already know what we face, especially when it comes to entertainment, which is, we're not just the only community that goes through these issues. We already know what the issues are, right? But what is it that we can do as a community? One of the, if you guys went to our virtual event, you saw some of the Latin artists like America Ferrera, Danny Pino, Olga Meredith, Gianfranco Rodriguez talk about change makers. Filmmakers are change makers. That's kind of like the recurring theme this year, right? We believe that filmmakers are change makers because through story, we have a voice and we're able to educate many other people. It doesn't matter if it's a genre or anything else. We're able to educate others about our communities. We're able to educate others about particular subjects that are very important, right? So coming together, us right now as a community, what is it that we can do together as a community to make this industry just a little bit better for all of us, and to kind of like put out there to those people that could hear us, that are like, that could be change makers too, by giving us a shot and not, and taking risks, right? what messages do you have for them? You know, and what messages do you have for our own community, right? So we could kind of like get out of the mentality of like, you know, I'm this, I'm that, you know, that we're just like a whole big familia, and we're very, very diverse, right? And how can we support one another and all that stuff and keep moving this forward, right? This whole entire thing forward. So again, this is Zoom, but if you guys talking, you know, like on top of one another, it doesn't matter, but please speak. Let's have a conversation.
I mean, I'll start. I think that it's just like being here for each other and recognizing the diversity in all of our voices, because I mean, my voice compared to like somebody else's voice in here is like can be drastically different. You know, I've lived in Utah for 20 years. I'm from California, but I don't speak Spanish. And like my small connection to my heritage from when I was in California has dwindled over the last 20 years. You know, now I'm going back through the filmmaking process to like rediscover my culture, you know, and it's just, I think that's like supporting each other, listening to one another. And, you know, there's a lot of competition in filmmaking, and we've experienced it. You've seen it. Hopefully you haven't participated in it yourself, but, you know, I've seen directors like cut people off because like, oh, you know, this guy from my class is rising to success and I don't want to be around that person because it makes me feel weird. But like, if we can just be there for one another, listen to each other, get advice from one another, I feel like that's so vital. And tapping into like, I mean, part of the reason I brought up my own ideas about my culture is like, I have to now be active to find ways to tap into my culture now, because I'm like the brownest person in like 20-mile radius, you know? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I go into a restaurant and there's 200 people in there and I'm the only brown person, you know? So it's like, it's ways like this that I'm now like seeking out to be around people and to like rediscover that. So I think that just like supporting each other is so important.
And see, this is the thing, like Gabby and I got to see the projects that were submitted from the final people that were submitted. And we saw like a lot of talent, of course, because you guys are here because you're talented, right? But you all have a different vision, right? And it's all really good, right? So if I were to give you right now a title and a log line to create a project, each and every one of you will come back to us with a different film, you know? So that's the thing, like we all have our own voice, right? Within the voice, right? And we all have our own style, right? So it's like we are different, and it's important to use that uniqueness that you have to implement it to your projects, because that is what's going to make you stand out. So in that sense, it shouldn't be competitive, right? Dominique.
Well, Jairo said something to that point that was really inspiring. He said, I don't want my client to be known as the Latino guy. I want him to be the guy who tells underdog stories. And I don't want to, you know, I'm the first person to be like, don't water me down, right? People have this idea that's a stereotype of what we are. And when you transcend it for a second, it's like, oh no, you're not being Latino anymore. I'm like, no, every time I do something great, that's Latino AF, trust me, right? So I really love that he said that, because I think that's the way to like cut through the noise for the people who they hear Latino and stop listening, right? So for those people, you know, you kind of have to sneak in with the, but this is a story about love. Like this is a story about friendship. These are things that they already understand. And it just happens to showcase us for our voices.
I do want to say that one of the hopes I had from the beginning, and I talked to Mylen about this, was that I know the executives and the producers, like it's really appealing to be able to talk to them, especially if they have interest in you and then you connect. That's wonderful for sure. But we cannot guarantee that. Our hope is that we guarantee such a diverse group of like-minded in some ways, right? In the sense of like elevating that Latino voice, but different enough that you can draw from each other's strengths and that you do the lateral networking, because that's where I think you can really just become even stronger. If you liked each other, cool. If you didn't, I'm sorry. What can I tell you? We're all people. But, you know, maybe there's a few of you in here that you really got along with and that you feel that you can continue to pitch or work on your projects or be friendly or what have you. But one of our goals was to have you all interact with one another and make connections here as well too. So hopefully that happened for some of you.
I kind of like everybody. I do.
No, yeah. Thank you.
Is it nighttime?
Hello?
Is it nighttime over there, Juan?
Yeah, well, it's 8 o'clock.
At night?
Yes.
Oh man, I want to see your face.
Okay, well, I didn't know we were going to create any romantic connections here, but those are great too.
But hey, you know, we're open to everything and anything.
Is me and the homie Chris, we're grabbing some coffee tomorrow, maybe some food, I don't know. You know, Juan, if he flies out, you know, and makes it in time, he could join us. But
He's asking you out on a date, Juan. Let's do this.
Speed dating. Why not speed dating?
Speed dating. Real speed dating happening right now.
Yeah. You know what? I lost my girlfriend.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, Gianfranco.
Now listen, I really like genuinely. I think being selected together is, you know, I think a lot of times you hear this, especially if you've gone to like film school. You know, it's like you've been selected together. Please, like make it a point to work together because you're all you got. And I think that's something to kind of remember. I mean, Mylen, she doesn't go like selecting the same people. So anytime like I get a chance, really for me, it's, you know, who am I with in that pool? From that first year, I think I'm still connected with Nelo, who's I mean, we still connect all the time. And this year, I'm hoping the same thing. You know, there's few of us that can connect together and build this band. Because we never know, like, who's gonna meet with whomever else, who might jump on and produce somebody's project, who can help out in one way as a writer or producer or whatever it is to continue to help accelerate each other in that, you know, stratosphere.
And you know what? That's the mentality that everyone should have, not only in this room, but like in general, because if you live as a filmmaker with that mentality, you know, of like working with one another, helping each other out, an opportunity comes, you're not just like thinking about yourself, you're also thinking, oh, look, I know Chris's work. Let me tell him, hey, there's this opportunity, you know. This is really part of the way we can advance our own community, because it's like, this is not just a matter, guys, of like waiting for the industry to do something for us, because it's not going to happen. This is about us making it happen within our community, so we could show the industry that we're profitable, so we could show the industry that we are actually a team, that we support one another, we support the diversity within our community, right? So it's pretty much us really standing together and doing that, you know. You could just jump in, no raising hands, jump in.
Yeah, I was thinking, I don't know, back there, but here, and I imagine it's the same there, because I hear you using the word profitable, and at the end, it depends on that, if we are profitable or not, because film is expensive art. It's not like, I don't know, painting or writing, that, you know, it doesn't, you just, but film is like, it's like military. You get to have a crew, and you need money to feed them, and you need money to make company move. So in Puerto Rico, the problem is after you do the film and you put it in we get to have commercial release. We have that, you know, it's not that it's very favorable for us, but we get to do it. But then getting the public to go and see the film, that's very difficult.
That's difficult.
And I see, like, there's this this series that I really like that because it's Latinx, it's queer, it's woman, and it's very cool. It's from Stars, Vida.
Yes.
And for me, it was so sad because they didn't get to make the third season because it wasn't not seen enough. And I was like, oh my God, everybody should see this. Many people will like it just if they know that it's there. So for me, the gap is there. Because now there's a lot of help to doing the films, to make them good films, because if you have a good film, that makes the difference. But then, how we get to the public.
Right. So I don't know if you guys saw the PR marketing conversation that we had in our virtual space. We got to speak in regards to that, about having a budget, they said from the beginning, just to have it for marketing and PR, right? For your films, right? Making sure that you keep that in mind. But at the same time, something that I've been trying to figure out on my own already for many, 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 many years, before I even started this Latino Filmmakers Network, is how to get the community, our own community, to be supportive of one another, to share each other's projects, to give a shout out when, like, oh my God, Karen's film made it into a film festival, Miguel's film is playing here today. Oh, let's say, oh, giving a shout out, hey, check out this film, because we're always often promoting our own work, I understand, but getting into the mindset of how do we, promoting each other's works. I see this a lot actually in the African American community. I know that they also have their struggles that they deal with and stuff, right? But when it comes more to like shouting out their own community, they do that a lot, right? I don't see that too much in our community, right? So it's like, that's a very important thing, guys, right? But it's like, and I know that it's like, one person can't do this, however many people are here can do this by ourselves, but we could inject other people little by little by, having them get into that mindset. You understand?
Yeah, I want to say something on that, because I think, for those that are like, watching and all that, I think, and us here, it's so important that we do just what Mylan is saying. Like, we really got to be loud for each other. I mean, like, I'm about to talk about some heartbreak here. Okay. I'm so sorry, y'all. But our show, I say our show because it's our show, but that it was a joint on Netflix. ¿Cómo se llama la maldita vaina esta? Somebody, dame el nombre, por favor. Gentefied. Gentefied. You see how quickly I'm already forgetting these things. They canceled our show, and it's all fading away. But Gentefied was a great show, and it just wasn't championed enough. It didn't make it into the top 10 list on Netflix. And it's a much bigger show, but like, the more we take the opportunity to tell these grounded stories, and rally behind them, the more these companies, whether they're streaming services or the Warner Media or whomever else, are going to give us those chances. There's another show on the flip side of that was actually like saved. What I'm talking about? It's like Cuban show.
One Day at a Time.
One Day at a Time.
It did get saved by Netflix.
Another network, yeah.
Right.
So it got canceled. There was an outcry. I mean, like, so many people were like, "What the freak is going on?" And then it got saved. And who knows for how long? But it's exactly that which the Black community does have. The Black community is very, very stringent in making sure that those things come about. But sometimes I think there's and I'm speaking to kind of like an insecurity here, but there's like a little bit of like a challenge and a fear, I feel like, because we're trying to see ourselves so prominently on screen that we end up telling these like really pigeonholed, kind of catered versions of our narratives that have like not gone very far. So I mean, like, we absolutely need to be able to champion those stories as much as possible, but at the same time, we've got to elevate it, man. We got to like take it to the next level. I'm gonna clap for everybody, but we really,
for sure.
But
For sure.
We can't be afraid to do that, but it also has to do, I feel like, with the people that are greenlighting stuff, that they have to also pay attention to other stuff that from our community that's not pigeonholed.
It does. But okay, if we're going to look at from a business perspective, the people that spend the most money on media is in this country, it is Latinos. Yeah. It is Latinos. We have an incredible buying power. I don't know why it's not translated yet, but we do. I mean, I do know why. I think we could probably have a whole discussion on that. But I do think that once we do have people that are either real allies or Latino or Hispanic, whatever the hell we want to call ourselves, I really don't care, in those positions of power, then yes, you start to see the change. Until then, it's a frustrating thing to hear repeated all the time, like you have to keep making your content, you have to keep making your content. Yes, because ultimately it is a business and people do vote with their dollars. And if you're making good content, it's not about, but it's Latino content, it's about it's good content.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And another thing I want to just add real quick, because I do think that you do see this happening sometimes, and I think it comes from fear. Sometimes people are, it's not that they're like hating per se, though I do think that happens as well too, but there's like, well, oh, Gianfranco, his movie came out, yay, great, but like if I start cheering for him, then oh, now I feel you kind of referenced it a little bit, Julian. And as opposed to like Mylen, we've talked about this before, how like the Black community really supports each other. They really give shout outs to one another. They really show up for each other. I don't know why that isn't with us, though I do suspect a lot of us are either first generation or second generation. And so we have other things going on that maybe are affecting our mindset. And I wish we would have more of an abundance mindset of like, I'm a producer, Mylen is a producer. If Mylen gets a great project, this is not a piece of pie. This doesn't mean that there's one less great project for me. On the contrary, I'm gonna support her and give her credit and, you know, praise her publicly to other people, because I do think, well, what how's that phrase go? The rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
You might not see it right then and there, but I really do truly believe in that. And maybe that's a little Pollyanna-ish way of looking at things, but I'd rather think that way and act that way than to be like, I'm gonna be here in my little corner and do my own little thing. And
oh, by the way, you know,
ahead.
I'm very selective as to who is part of the Latino Filmmakers Network team. And this is why Gabby's part of the team. This is why Vince, who hasn't been, he's actually working on set. That's why he hasn't been able to be a part of this, is part of the team, because it's not just that they support the community and that they're also filmmakers, you know, or producers, or like, you know, like us, we're all the same here, right? But they're genuine, right? I find people that are actually 100% genuine to be part of the Latino Filmmakers Network group. And for me, finding genuine is harder.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great people.
Yeah.
Good people with, you know, good intentions and stuff like that. But genuine people, that's hard to find. And I'm very blessed that in our little team, the people that I've selected so far are actually genuine, and they actually care about all of you, and they care about our community, and they care about everything that we're all doing, you know?
We do. Please stay in touch with us. I mean, you know, we're working for sure, you know, like you guys, we're also pushing to get ahead too. And, you know, clearly that is the mission of LFN, to amplify the Latino voice, but even on a personal level, you know, just to stay in touch and let's support one another as best as possible.
Stay in touch with each other, stay in touch with us, but let's go quickly around the room and let's share, like I always do with my other people, words of wisdom, you know, to send everyone off on a good vibe with each other and all that stuff. So Gabby, I'll start with you.
Don't worry about the people that are not here for you. Those aren't your people. You're looking for the ones looking for you, whether you're pitching to an executive or it's collaborators. You are looking for the ones looking for you. The more no's you get, the more you are filtering down to your people. So that's what I'm going to say.
Okay, Gianfranco.
Absolutely. I'm gonna, the AFI train is, but I think it's definitely our time. Like, let's not be afraid to reach out to each other, to get like notes on our stories, the greatest thing that we could do for each other in a selected group like this is evolve together. And the best way to do that is to take our work and to throw it at each other and to go, how do I better this? You know, how do I get to a point where I make this? And maybe how do we make this together? How can, you know, you help me create this thing, and vice versa? How can I help you create what you're creating? And by doing that, we're creating that safe space to kind of heal and evolve and elevate and make this, you know, a career for ourselves, and to the point where people are paying us what we deserve to bring these stories to the screen that should be like touted, you know, in the same way that Black Panther was, you know, for the, you know, puro Afro community, which, you know, we got Afro in our community too. You know, it's very much about pulling those things, those threads, and tying them together, you know. On a side note, we should all, you know, make it a very distinct point to go and see Blue Beetle, you know, for Angel, if y'all know him, but he's Puerto
awesome.
Rican actor. He's
a Puerto Rican director, Carla.
My guy.
Yeah.
Angel.
Angel Manuel Soto.
Sí.
Yeah. I saw the La Granja. I haven't saw the new project, but I saw La Granja here in Puerto Rico.
Bueno, since we're with Carla, why don't you share some words of wisdom, Carla?
Wow, words of wisdom. Well, I don't know. I think everything you have say is on it. I think solidarity and building bridges and helping each other, but also I think in a personal level, what you say, Maylene, resonates to me, like being genuine. Like I think it is very intense, this industry, film industry, and the expectations and trying to be, you know, be selected or going in. But sometimes I think one lost like the path, why you're doing this, what I'm having here, what is for me, not only, you know, like triunfo, how you say that in English, not only
successes,
arriving,
triunfo, success.
Not only focusing on success, on arriving to the goal, because sometimes, you know, life continues and passes you by, and really what I think for me, like what makes a filmmaker or a director or a writer, you know, a big talent is because he or she or they live, you know, in the present, have relationships, and so I will say, like, it's important to see where we want to go, but not to lose track of what we're living in the present and how we can enjoy life. Because I think that sometimes, well, for me, like the first film, I was so obsessed to doing it that at the end, I got a divorce. I lost all my friends, and I get what I wanted, but, you know, then what? So I just want to, you know, have this, you know, making our dream come true, but with the feet on the ground, looking at the abundance we have around, because I think that at the end, you know, somebody could die, we could die, and what we have is what we have lived and shared, and also what we want to narrate in our stories is something we live. It's you know, it's the joy and sadness and sorrow, but, you know, living passionately in the present. That's my
Gracias, Carla. Gracias. Julian.
I mean, words of wisdom. You know, I guess, like, the thing that I always think about is that hard work really trumps all, you know. I feel like I am where I am today because I've busted my butt to work really hard and be a filmmaker as a living, you know. And I mean, I'm not trying to be humble here, but I'm a man of you know, average intelligence, or you know, I'm not, you know, this sort of brilliant artist right out the gate. You know, it's what I've done is I've had to work really, really hard to get to where I am today and to have, you know, some success. But also, you know, I didn't do it myself. I did it with all sorts of people that have helped along the way, you know, other people in the community, other directors, other producers, professors in school, and my family, of course. Like, I just think it's so important to, like, for us to continue to talk with one another and build each other up. I mean, I'm certainly here if anybody wants to connect with me. I love to chat. I love to jump in wherever I can and help.
Chris.
The big thing that I keep thinking about is mentorship. And I think we can all be mentors, regardless of where we are, where we think we are. We're all learning. I mean, we've talked about that in here. It's like everyone is constantly learning. No one is perfect and they never will be. But the one thing you can do is help each other and connect with people, bring them up, raise them up, help build the community up. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. I come from a long line of educators, and I think that's the one thing that is missing with getting our community to be making more stories, telling those stories is mentorship and connection and building each other up.
I love it. Dominique.
I'm gonna say something that I don't listen to myself enough, and I'm hearing this theme about how hard we work, and I think it comes from something that Gabby brought up. As just culturally, there's a lot of pressure on us, right? There's pressure to be the one, right? Everything you do is the representation for all of us, right? Because we're so few and far between. And I think, Julian was bringing it up, like we work really, really hard, and sometimes it's hard to support yourself and also do this artistic thing. And so I think it's okay if it takes time, right? It's okay to be a little bit kind to yourself. And that's what I would encourage everyone here to do. I usually write really, really fast. And I had this project that I started in September, and I really kind of just recently started it, and it's flying off the shelves right now. It's doing really well. But I was so hard on myself. I was like, oh my gosh, what took me so long? And I was like, oh, you were finishing school, you were working, and you run a mentorship program, which is another, kudos to Mylene and Gabby, because I know this is so much work. So thank you again for doing this. So, if you have all those, you can only do so much as you can, and keep that in mind that other people, you have to look where you are, because other people have a different situation than you, right? So you can only be in competition with yourself. And so you've got to be a little bit nice to yourself. So I wish that for all of you.
Thank you. Karen.
Well, I would say, first of all, remember that each of you has a unique voice and a unique project or a unique skill or set of skills. What you're living through at the moment, it's different and special, and that's what makes the Latino community so interesting, because we're diverse. It's not just one type of group. It's not just Puerto Ricans, it's just Hondureños or whatever. It's like we're so diverse and unique, and we have Afro Latinos, and we have Asian Latinos, and we have all these different things. So we have such an amazing, colorful, stories that we are the pioneers that need to cultivate that audience. And sometimes it's a little bit hard, because it's like we need to create, and then we need to cultivate, and then we need to do all these things. But it's amazing to see all these different people like you, all of you, that are doing all your special projects. And it's very, I feel very honored to be here with all of you in that sense. So yeah.
Thank you. Miguel.
So far for you. Don't wait for anybody to give you permission to do the thing you want to do. Really, if you have a project in mind, a short film, a feature film, I've been in both those boats. I've been in the boat of somebody telling me they're going to give me $10 million, and then waiting a year and a half for those 10 million, and they never come. And I have found it that the moment that you take command of that ship and you actually drive it yourself, as a writer, as a director, as a producer, that's when things start really happening. And I would say, don't wait for anybody to give you permission to do the thing that you need to do. It's $1 million, and you need to do it for 250. figure out the script to do the 50-50 so you can get your voice out there. Really, really take command of the ship.
Very nice. Thank you, Miguel. Isaac?
I have just two kind of simple things. One is I came in here with the outlook of like, y'all are my peers and also my sources of inspiration. Like, I want to reach out and just watch y'all's work and let myself watch it with the outlook of like, I want to be inspired. I want to even steal some cultural aesthetic that you may have in your films. Like, I want that to educate me in my pursuits with my work. And I would invite anybody listening to this to also do the same when it comes to connecting with other Latinx filmmakers. And two, for anybody watching that's like not in LA, it's like totally okay not to be in LA. Like, the world is changing. I'm in Austin, and I came to Austin to make stuff on my own terms because I wasn't a fan of the path that was shown before me when I was doing internships in LA. So I came back and I'm doing my own thing, and that's totally possible for anybody who's not in LA. And like, sometimes it's hard to make like a really great Latino film in wherever you might be because there might not be Latinx actors. Like, find your angle, find what your resources within wherever you are to make something that's authentic to you, and it eventually will rise. It's good.
Thank you, Isaac. Juan?
Drink water, wear a mask, and don't be racist. That's all I got for
Are
you.
those your final words?
Absolutely.
I guess so. I don't know if I can hear anybody.
What about he said absolutely. What about you, Mylen?
Wait, did Adelina,
No,
do you want to say
can
something?
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I've been chatting with. I think the two best notes I've gotten this year from my mentor are find the joy in your work daily. Like, the joy when, even if it's just those 15, 30 minutes that you're writing, like, wow, pensando en nuestros, ancestors. I know we have different lineages, but a lot of our ancestors would have never imagined that they would have birthed creatives like us. So there's joy in that, and that we celebrate when that success does happen, because sometimes we rush through celebrating the moment. This here is case in point. I think this is a celebration to be in this virtual space with each other. Okay, I promise you I don't sound like a frog. I'm open to hearing pictures when I get better. Okay, bye.
Get better, Adelina, get better.
Yes,
We want you to
please.
get better. And I guess I'll end by saying, I always say that life is about learning, growing, and evolving. And so is the entertainment industry, and so is our projects, right? Because our projects come out of like the way that we live and our perspectives and what we see, right? So keep that in mind, continue to grow and allow yourselves to do that. Continue to educate yourselves. Education is endless, right? That's going to be until the end of time, and continue to evolve, right? Don't be stuck on one project. Continue to evolve as a human being, because that just helps our projects even more. And I feel like as artists and filmmakers, our eyes hold the lens to the world, and that's what we put into our work. So continue to go out there and being the lenses of the world, because I feel that the beautiful thing about artists is that we are the most understanding one of each other. We're the most accepting one, the accepting ones of one another, so we are really the change makers as artists, right? Whether it's through our medium or another medium of art, we are really the change makers because we really put a light on what other people usually don't see. We're the ones putting the light on that subject. And I feel like the world should embrace artists of all kinds and not think of artistry as just like a hobby, but also as a profession, because we all work very hard to do the types of works that we do, to be able to, entertain, bring entertainment, bring escapism, but also educate others that are not like us. So continue to do that. We wish you all the best, and we wish you much success in everything that you do in your careers. Let's continue to move forward, and let's continue to do it as one, in support of one another. All right. Thank you all for being part of the 2022 program with Latino Filmmakers Network.
I really want to thank you.
Kisses to everyone.
Yeah, I really want to thank you, Maylene and Gabriela, because I know how intense this kind of work is, and sometimes how invisible could be. So I really thank you for putting this place of reunion together, this workshop together, knowing that you did it voluntarily. I just follow for yourself, because
I've been doing it voluntarily since 2015. Okay.
My admiration.
It's a lot of work, but that's because I care, and I understand too. I understand because I'm one of you guys, you know. But at the same time, I've had to put my own work on the side to be able to push this narrative forward, because some people have to do that too in order to help this community advance, and in order to help us as artists advance, you know. I
recognize that. I want to recognize that and give
What's
you
that?
We love you for it.
Oh,
yes.
Make it louder. Is it louder?
Yeah, I know. No, my speaker keeps turning off every time people get so loud, and it's like, hello, we're Latinos speaking. Like, you should be used to this.
Zoom was clearly not made by a Latino, okay? So.
It's not. I need a Latino speaker.
What would a Latino one be? Yeah, coño, go. That's what it would be called.
Thank you, Gianfranco. I understood you, you know, when you were saying it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, stay in touch, guys. Let us know how things go for you, okay? We
All right,
support
take care,
you.
everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.